Hey, we're the Fords, and this is By Grace We Live. Welcome back. Today we're going to talk about how we're experts at parenting. I'm just kidding. But for real, we thought it would be fun to share some of the things that we have learned about ourselves and I think the world in general, being first-time parents.
Yeah.
But before we jump in, Ryan, how are you doing? How was your week?
Not too bad. It was all right. It went by really fast.
It did. It's hard to remember this week for some reason.
Yeah. I'm not really sure why.
I don't know either.
But because it was a pretty normal week. Nothing too crazy, but we got to the weekend pretty quick. So that's always nice.
Well, and I think too, our weekend was pretty busy.
Yeah.
So that makes
true.
it feel even faster.
Yeah. How was your week?
It was really good. Like you said, it did go by pretty fast. We got to spend a lot of time outside this week. Even though it was pretty hot. I must say, I am not ready for the 90-degree days that we're experiencing. It's not my favorite. But Miles loves being outdoors, so I will make the sacrifice for him. And we got to hang out with one of my best friends this week and her family, and so that was super, super fun. And her son is 9 months older than Miles, so it was really fun to see them play together and interact. And then another great part of our week, our friends had a baby.
Yeah.
So super fun to share in the joy of them welcoming a new little one. And I was slightly relieved to be out of that newborn phase, to be honest. But now we're going to jump right back into it because we're going to talk about...
Well, we're not jumping back in. What do you mean we're jumping back into the...
Because now we're going to kind of reflect on our journey as parents so far. Did I just make you really nervous?
No, I just was you're implying something that is not
true.
What you
no, we're
meant
not
to
jumping
imply.
back into it physically, the two of us. But today,
not physically. Gee whiz, this is a family show.
Okay, I'm just saying, I mean having a child. Oh my gosh. I'm saying that as we are sharing today, part of it will be reflecting on that season of life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Good Lord. You just had to make things all confusing. Okay. Anyway, extra, read all about it. Book club here. Join our book club here. No. I tried something new. Didn't work.
Wow.
I was trying to come up with a clever way of going into our next segment. Book club.
I don't know about that one.
Okay, well, I tried. Maybe next week I'll have something different. So, book club segment of the week. What are you reading? Are you still reading about trolls? Have you finished that one?
No. Or yes. You asked me two different questions,
Sorry.
both
What
requiring one yes and one no.
Yeah, okay.
No, I'm not reading Trolls anymore.
You finished it.
I finished it. And it was good. I enjoyed it. It was a quick one. So it's a lot of really short stories about little folk tales and some really cool drawings in it because the author is also an artist. I mean, that's really, I think, what he was.
Is known for.
Yeah, because he did a lot of drawings for other, folklore publications and things in Norway. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, it was good though. I gave it 5 stars on Goodreads.
Really?
That may have been a little, I don't know. It's probably closer to 4.5.
Are you allowed to do a half?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. So
you just round it up.
Typically, if I end up on a half, I just round up for the sake of the
You're
author.
Very generous.
Or which I mean, this author's long dead, but
oh, God.
I guess for the, I don't know. Well, and there was only one other rating on it, and it was a 5-star rating.
So you didn't want to bring it down.
I didn't want to be the guy. Yeah.
I think we've talked about this before. It's even if you didn't love the book, these people put a lot of time and energy and effort into it. So it just feels harsh sometimes being that sucked. So I'm giving it a 1.
I mean,
you know,
if the shoe fits.
Have you ever given a book a 1 on Goodreads?
Yeah, I'm sure I have.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I'm trying to think of a book I really didn't like. I know I can't think of what it is. I'd have to look, but I'm pretty positive I've given 1 stars on there.
For those of you who don't know, Goodreads is an app that you can use to keep track of what you want to read, what you've read in the past, and what you're currently reading. And it's kind of like...
It's like social networky.
Yeah, because like you can follow other people's reading journeys and like their... Ryan's the only one really that ever likes my status updates.
That's not true.
But
there's a couple other people that do.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, it's helped me keep track of how many books I've read this year. And it was helpful in like, okay, I'm setting my goal. I'm almost achieving my goal. So yeah.
I like it.
Everyone should check it out. They don't sponsor us. No one sponsors us. This is our third
When
episode.
it's owned by Amazon, I think they're doing pretty well.
Yeah, they're fine.
So.
Okay, so what are you currently reading then?
So now I am reading a book called Adorning the Dark. And then the like tagline is Thoughts on Community Calling and the Mystery of Making.
Ooh.
Yeah.
It kind of sounds spooky. Adorning the Dark.
At all. It's actually the opposite of spooky because adorning the dark implies like you're putting something onto the dark, like light and beauty and things like that. Like if you adorn something or something.
It just I don't know.
No, it's not spooky at all.
Because of darkness, maybe my mind went to spooky.
Yeah. No, it's good so far. I'm only a few chapters in, but it's I'm enjoying it. It's written by a guy named Andrew Peterson who
Eugene's brother?
No, they're not related. It's actually spelled different, I think, if I remember correctly. Because I think one of them is and Eugene's like he was like really old.
Yeah,
he passed away, but he's much younger. But no, he's a part of... I found this guy, Andrew Peterson, through a website called rabbitroom.com, and the name's taken from the Inklings, the Lewis and Tolkien and all them jokers who would hang out and talk about their stuff. But one of the rooms they met in at the pub that they would often go to, I believe, was called the Rabbit Room. And so that's where they got this name. And but it's really cool because it's a website and a community of like artists and writers and musicians and things like that all come together, and there's blog posts and videos and things.
Cool.
But it's a cool website. And so this guy started that, and then and he's also a musician,
and what's
singer,
the
songwriter.
Book about?
So it is about thoughts on community calling and the mystery of making.
You already said that.
I know. No, but right now he's kind of talking about like his experience of becoming like a writer, a singer, songwriter kind of thing. And just the idea of like doing those things, like making art and things like that within a community, and with I'm repeating a lot of the same words that's in the tagline, but it's like, well, to be honest, I'm not that far in the book.
Yeah.
And right now he's just talking about like his early experience of like getting over the kind of the like, who am I to be the one doing this kind of stuff. But no, it's good so far though. He's a pretty good writer.
That's nice.
I think. And it'll be a quick read though too. It's pretty fast paced.
Nice.
But yeah, it's
Very
good.
cool.
What are you reading?
Well, I'm still reading the 2 books I talked about last week. I'm on the 3rd. I finished 3 chapters in each of them. So The Power of the Praying Parent and Enough. So far, so good for both of them. But I did just start another book called Happy People Are Annoying by Josh Peck. So for those of you who don't know, or maybe that name's not ringing a bell, this is the Josh from Drake and Josh, which was a really popular Nickelodeon show when we were younger. I don't remember what year it came out for sure, but this is his autobiography. You actually bought it for me because I was listening to another podcast and they had him on the show, interviewed him about his book. And, I think he's funny and can be entertaining. But in the podcast interview, he just was sharing about like a lot of struggles he had gone through. And I thought that was like intriguing because you never know, like you don't really know. You see people on the screen, you hear about people in the media, but you don't know what they actually are really going through. Yeah. So he had like a really rough childhood, came from a single parent home. They were really broke. He was addicted to food to kind of cope with like all of his trauma. So he was really overweight. So he struggled with that. Got really lucky and ended up being in the entertainment industry and was doing like really well. But then like kind of things spiraled, started using drugs and alcohol, and he has recovered from that, and he is almost 13 years sober, which is awesome. But his tone in the book is like very comedic, but also very raw and real, and he's very self-aware. Like he has like mentioned, like, I don't know, he's just very open and honest. Like, I really messed up. I really made mistakes. Or here's how I'm still really struggling. And I've learned that I really like autobiographies. Anytime I read an autobiography, I kind of fly through it, which isn't really that surprising. I was a psychology major in college, and I love hearing people's stories. So it makes sense, but I've never really taken the time to read autobiographies. This is the second one I read this year, and I really like it. But I will say, reading his book, and I don't think all the things that he has struggled with in his adult life have necessarily been because he was a child star on like a Nickelodeon show, but I think, growing up in a way in like formative years in the public eye can kind of take a toll on you. It made me really thankful that my parents said no to me when I wanted to audition for all that when I was younger. I'm not even kidding you. I was probably like 11 or 12. And I remember watching the show, like they're like, we're auditioning, or maybe I was even a little younger. I was probably a little younger. I printed out an application from the website, and I like was convincing my dad that we could just easily fly out to LA and audition. And he was like, we're not doing that. And I just was so heartbroken. But looking back, my parents are very wise. Yeah. So I think I have what it takes. I have the chops. I mean, to be on a kid show? Come on.
Maybe.
Not today, obviously. That'd be weird. Well, I mean, adults play on kid shows, but like, I would have loved it. I was such a cheese ball when I was younger.
You're a bit of a ham.
I loved being the center of attention. My brother and I actually fought over the microphone at a Christmas performance at our church. Shine, Jesus, shine. I loved it. I wanted the microphone. He wanted the microphone. Neither of you were shining Jesus in that moment. No, we sure weren't. And we have the home video where I think he says like, Mom, she's not giving me the mic. Like he's screaming at my mom in the audience. It was adorable. But anyway, so yeah, I'm really enjoying it. I'm actually like over halfway through.
Yeah, you're flying through that one.
I am. It's a quick read too. I mean, the print is pretty large, and like I said, like he's very funny. So it's easy to just keep like reading and going and finding out what happens next. Yeah. So yeah, that's where we're at.
That's it. Book club done.
Book club done. Close your books. All right. Should we get into it?
Let's get into it.
Things we've learned as first-time parents. Buckle up. It's going to be a bumpy ride.
The first year and a half.
Yeah. So
it's not very long. Yeah. So we're still got lots to learn.
We sure do.
Yeah.
And I would say, for me at least, these are just kind of like themes that don't necessarily apply to parenthood, but I didn't really think about them as much until I became a parent.
Yeah. Not really sense. Parenting.
No, like we're not going to give you tips.
No.
At all.
No.
Because like we said, this is our first child.
And
we've only been parents for a year and a half. He's actually really easy too compared to some kids. So we got #blessed. I'm just kidding.
Jeez.
I'm not kidding. We're blessed, but you know what I mean.
But not #blessed.
No. All right. Do you want to go first?
I guess I can. Okay. I don't know what I want to start with. I should have thought of that. So 2 of them, I have poems tied to them.
Oh. If you don't remember last time I mentioned, Ryan's a poet. Yeah, he has an Instagram of Earth and Acorns. Check it out.
Yep.
I'm biased, I will admit, but I think he's amazing.
Oh, thanks. So I guess I'll just start with one of those. So I'll read the poem first and then I'll kind of elaborate on it. Okay, so here we go. As we sit and stare at the falling snow or watch winged wonders soar to and fro, I would be a fool not to take notes as this child teaches me to see with heart and soul.
Do you have a title for that one?
I didn't title that one, so I don't really have a title yet.
Wonder?
Maybe. Could be Wonder.
I think that sounds good.
Well, maybe I would be a fool. That would be like a catching title, right?
That would be.
Because it's like, I don't know. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see.
Draws you in.
Yeah. No, so that was just a poem I wrote one day or night. I don't remember exactly, but as I was sitting and at a chair next to our front window, and Miles loves staring at it. Mm-hmm. And he likes watching squirrels and people and cars, and
birds. We
got a bird feeder that I hung in the tree out the front, so that way you could watch birds fly up. And yeah, he's just always looking out there and then pointing at stuff and like going ooh ah, like whatever, making noises at things. And it just kind of like hit me in one of those moments of like, this is how I want to live my life, like with this wonder and this awe and being able to see the magic and the beauty in the world. And because there's mm-hmm. magic and beauty in so many things. And he like is seeing it, for the first time. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, you know what I mean? Not like he obviously sees a bird every day, but he still is so excited about it because it's still so, I don't know, fresh and new.
Yeah.
And
well, there is like that really well-known phrase, like there's nothing like seeing the world through a child's eyes.
Right. And I guess that's why Jesus told us
to be like children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think it was like, like if I could just look at everything, take every day, and see those beautiful things, those magical things, the moments that may seem small and little, but in reality, they're like some of the most precious things in the world. And he just reminds me about that. Mm-hmm. He reminds me to look at things that way, and I think it helps me be a lot more grateful too. Mm-hmm. When I realize all the things around me that I maybe take for granted.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's my number one. That's my first one.
I like it. Well, what I think is funny is you and I did not share what we were going to say.
Yeah.
And I don't have a really cool poem to go along with mine.
Oh, sorry.
But one of mine is, don't allow yourself to get so distracted that you miss the beauty of little moments. So kind of similar to what you have said, but a little different in a way. Mm-hmm. And I should say, like, I'm not saying this from like a judgmental perspective or to say like, you have to give your child 100% of your attention 100% of the time, because that's mm-hmm. also not realistic. Yeah. But I mean, for me, I'm a stay-at-home mom, so I'm with him every day. I'm also an extrovert, and it can be really hard sometimes only having a child to talk to all day long. And so I have like some things that I default to when like the day's going by slowly, and maybe we're stuck inside because it's like raining, and so I'll get on my phone and I'll scroll, or I'll put a podcast on and I'm really focused on what they're saying, or I'm Marco Poloing friends or whatever. And again, I'm not saying any of that's bad. Like, it's okay to do those things. Like, doesn't make you a bad parent. But there have been a couple of times where I have realized I'm so consumed with those things, and then I look up and he's like doing something brand new, or he's like saying a new word randomly, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't want to miss this. Like, why am I being so distracted right now? Like, these moments are so precious, and like, the phrase, the days are long and the years are short, it is really true. I mean, we're only a year and a half in, but it feels like just yesterday we brought him home from the hospital, and I just don't want to look back and feel like I allowed myself to be super distracted, and that I missed really sweet, special moments. So I have set up some boundaries for myself to kind of like avoid doing that, and they're really not like that challenging, and I'm also not perfect at them. Like, I don't do these every day. I still reach for my phone more than I would like to, but having certain boundaries in place helps me do it less. So like, first thing in the morning when I go into his room and I get him out of his crib and get him up, changed, I always bring his milk in there because he's hangry in the morning. He like needs milk. He is like whining and shaking and wants his milk. So I just bring it right in. In the past, I would sit in his room and like he would play and I'd be on my phone doing like the Wordle or something, which if you guys don't know what a Wordle is, where have you been? Also, check it out, Wordle.com. Or it's like
it's not Wordle. Yeah, it's New York Times.
New York Times bought it. Anyway, it's a little fun brain teaser every day. Anywho, so I would like do that first thing in the morning or whatever. But like, he is so happy and joyful in the morning. I don't really want to like be focused on my phone. So now I don't look at my phone in the morning. When I go into his room, it's just me and him for like the first 10 to 15 minutes. And we read a book and we play, and he has like a little piano in there that he likes to make the music with. Make the music.
Yeah, he makes the music.
He makes the music. You guys, let me just put a little caveat in this episode. It's late. We've been gone all day long. We're so tired. Our dogs have not seen us at all, and they're both being super needy right now. So I do feel a little distracted, but thanks for bearing with us. Anyway, so that's one thing I do. First thing in the morning, no phone. He gets my undivided attention. If I am like sitting in the living room playing with him one-on-one and like actively playing with him, my phone is on the desk and I'm not concerned with it at all. And then another thing is during meal times, I try not to be on my phone. But again, like that, for instance, that's a really easy time to catch up on like Marco Polos from Friends because he's content and he's sitting. And so it's easy to like listen and respond to them. So again, I don't do that perfectly, but it's just been helpful for me to sort of like just, I don't know, be more aware of how often I'm reaching for my phone or something else to like make the time go by faster. And like there are moments too where I have to work during the day while he's awake, and so I know like I'm not giving him my full attention. So especially when that's happening, like I don't want then the next thing he sees is like, oh well, mommy's on her phone and whatever. But going along with that too, not like wishing for the next season to begin is a really big thing that I've learned. So any new parent will know and learn like the first, I don't know, for us is like 8 weeks of having a newborn. It's the most exhausting thing in the world. And I do remember there were moments that I was like, okay, when he's sleeping through the night, it's just going to be so much better. We just need to get to that point. And then when that would happen, I'd be like, okay, when he's, I don't know. Like there's always like different milestones that you can wish for and think that like when this time comes or like when this hard season is over, then life is going to be so much better. But something that I think I've learned is that, like, when we live our lives wishing for tomorrow or a month from now, we miss out on the beauty of today. And I don't want to live my life like that. And so, kind of like you were saying, like, to be present, be full of wonder. And it does help me to be more grateful too.
Yeah.
And actually, I think being grateful helps you be present in those moments too. Yeah. So yeah, that's my first
good.
one.
Yeah, I like, because when you're talking about like just being distracted on your phone, then like the other side of that too for me is I never want him to feel like he has to compete for my attention from my phone. So
yeah,
it's like it's a double-edged sword, because it's like not only is it distracting you or me from, you know, the moment, but it's also like, especially as he gets older, it's going to seem more like potentially like, you know, he's going to notice it more.
Yeah.
And then feel like, what's going on here? That phone must be pretty cool. You know?
Yeah. It's attached to your hip all day.
Yeah. So, all right. Am I up again?
You're up.
Okay. So I'll just do this is another poem one. So I'll read it again and then just kind of explain again. So this one does have a title. It's just titled To My Son. And I wrote this for Miles when he was turning 1. So this is it. You'll find I don't have all the answers, so I'll give you this promise instead. As your father, I'll always be there. And if you'll have me, also as your friend.
I'm going to cry.
Okay.
Here I am, bawling my eyes out.
Gosh. But so, and this one's a little weird because it takes a little more explaining so you understand why I read it as far as what I'm learning. But it's really that the phrase, like, you know, you'll find I don't have all the answers. And, you know, becoming a parent, it's like, I feel like I need to have all the answers, or I have to have everything figured out for him, and you know, for us and for him. And if I don't, then I'm somehow failing or not as good, or like I maybe not, you know, a good enough father or whatever it is. And but just realizing that, like, in reality, there's so many things that don't actually matter that we think matter so much. Like having an answer for every question, and you may not, and that's okay. But what matters more is the promise of being there and being a friend. And obviously I'm his father, so it's like there's a different dynamic there to Miles, but but also like just, you know, being his friend as he grows older, and being honest and loving and open to him matters more than necessarily taking all the right boxes. And and not that those things, like, you know, aren't important, and it's not like I'm not gonna, you know, try to have as many answers as I can to whatever life throws at us with him, and or whatever he asks. But at the same time, being comfortable with the fact that it's impossible for me to have all the answers. And that's partly why we rely on God. And I think that'll help too, him see that even though I may let him down at times, you know, there's Jesus behind us all and for us all, and to fall on, and when we need, you know, someone, and even when our earthly
his
parents us, you know, that there is something greater, and that's always with us, and yeah. So
well,
I think
Like, you read my notes.
Oh, no.
Again, don't have a cool poem. No, I mean, mine's a little different, but it's not really different. So
okay.
It just makes sense that we're married to each other.
I guess so.
I wrote, I can't control everything. I have to be able to surrender and trust the Lord every single day. And obviously you learned this on day one.
I didn't learn this on day one.
You didn't learn you can't control everything on day one?
Oh, do you mean like day one of my life?
No, day one of being a parent.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
I was
I kind of knew that.
Everything's beyond my control.
Yeah,
Everything that I thought was going to happen is out the window already from the time I started labor to the time he was in my arms.
Yeah.
And like, to give it an example. So first of all, I should say I'm the type of person who, like, my entire life, I've always been very thoughtful about decisions that I make. Everything's very well planned. I sort of have X, Y, and Z of backup plans. And usually things just kind of go accordingly, like, you know, how I expected they would go or whatever. That all goes out the window when you have a baby. You really can only plan for so much. So the first, like, an example that I have is, like, I had a really hard time with breastfeeding Miles, and, like, for various reasons, and I'm not going to get into that because that's not what, like, this episode is about, but I was, like, super hard on myself. I think at the time I truly was struggling also with, like, postpartum anxiety. Probably would not have admitted it in the moment, but it was rough. Like, it was a big part of the reason why the first 8 weeks was really, really hard with him. But, like, the idea of not breastfeeding, that's just not what I planned. But I really couldn't control it. I tried as hard as I could to control it and to change that fact. I literally did everything I possibly could to, like, have a better breastfeeding journey. It just was not happening. And one day I finally surrendered and I was like, okay, I'm not doing this anymore. There are other ways I can take care of my son healthfully. And so I decided to change what we were doing, and we switched to formula, and it was the best decision I've ever made for him and for me. I felt like more peace in that moment than I had since he was born. And I think, like, I watched the anxiety come off of you too, because I think it was definitely wearing on you as well. Just being my partner and seeing me go through it and struggling too, like, as a first time dad and all that stuff. But like, I could go on about a number of ways that, like, things have happened. I'm like, wow, that's not what I was planning, or things that are super beyond our control. But it has helped me realize, like, we really can't do this parenting journey alone. And I know that there are differences in me on the days that I actually acknowledge the Lord is leading me and guiding me and even asking for that. And then the days that I'm trying to do it by, like, my own strength and trying to control every aspect of it. They're night and day. And so I am super thankful that we have the Lord, who is our good shepherd and helps us lead our family well. But I need to, like, not forget that fact. Some days, you know, we're humans. We're not perfect. Like, we fall short. But it is such a good reminder to know, like, God loves Miles more than we ever could. And he also knows Miles more than we ever could. So, like, when we're struggling, when we're feeling like everything is out of control and I don't know what to do, he's right there. And we just have to ask, well, what do we do? So, like you were saying, I don't have all the answers, but, like, God does. And we need to lean on him for that guidance. So
that's good.
I'm really interested in what your last one is.
I don't think this one is going to be anything like...
Are you sure?
I don't know, I guess. Who knows? We'll find out. No poem with this one.
Oh, okay. Me either. I decided not to write a poem for my third
one. This one is kind of weird. Well, I don't know. I tried to find where I had originally read this from, because it was on Instagram, and I tried finding the, like, post or whatever, but I couldn't find it again. So I can't tell you exactly what it said.
Okay. This is the SparkNote version. This
is my kind of version of it. But it has something, it's something to the effect of, like, I want, instead of focusing on being proud of Miles, which isn't a bad thing, but also like I want to be someone who Miles can be proud of. And so it's like kind of flipping it, you know, on its head a little bit, because obviously like every parent wants to be proud of their kids and you know, those things, but also being someone who Miles can be proud of. It's not something I really thought about before, I guess, in that way, before I had read that. And it was one of our friends posted it on Instagram and shared it. And it has just stuck with me, and it's something I think about often, of just like wanting to be a better person, human, also wanting to like follow my dreams, express myself, and do all, you know, all of those things, and continue to find my calling, you know, from God, and then go in and do those things, and not just live like a life that's like that I'm just settling for, you know what I mean? And it for Miles though too. It's not just for me. Obviously I get the benefit of doing those things, but also it's so that Miles can, you know, one day look to me and be proud of me and as his father. And obviously not that, like, it's kind of a weird thing. I was trying to think of how to say it without it sounding weird.
I feel like
because like it's not about like
you don't want him to like put you on
like,
a pedestal.
Yeah, being
That's
on a pedestal. No, but
No.
it's just that like
it's like you want to leave a legacy for your son.
Yeah, that's a common way of I think saying it. But I think it goes beyond that too, because it's not necessarily, or not beyond that, but it's a little different in the sense that it's not necessarily something that I want him to, or I feel like he should follow
to, like,
in or copy or be just like me or like live up to whatever I think I accomplish or whatever it is. Because that's not it at all. But it's just the idea that like my life's not done after being a father. And I don't want to live vicariously through him and then feel like he has to, like, you know, do things to make me proud. I don't want that at all, because it doesn't matter what he is, I'm gonna love him, and or what he does, you know, I'm gonna love him and be proud of him, and he's my son, and he will always be my son. And so
I wonder if you mean to, like, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but like sometimes I think I want to teach Miles certain things, but when I look introspectively, I'm like, do I do those things myself? You know, so like you want to probably teach Miles to like be creative, be yourself, be who you are. And then sometimes you think, am I also doing that too? Like, so like kind of leading by example as well. Or,
and maybe living in the freedom of those things. And not being held back by any kind of fear or stigma or insecurity or anything like that. No, I think that's a good way to put it. So mine's not like that. Okay. So we're not exactly the same.
Not exactly the same, but like 98%. My last one is not to allow the internet or societal pressures to rob my joy of being a parent. So what I mean by that is I used to follow a lot of mommy accounts on Instagram. There are accounts for everything and anything, and everyone has their own opinion about what's right, what's wrong, what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing. And it's super easy too when you're constantly being bombarded with all these different messages. At least it was easy for me to start comparing my experience with Miles to these other children or to these other parents. I mean, like, like how do you breastfeed or do you bottle feed? Are you exclusively pumping or are you using formula? What's your child eating? Did you introduce sugar before the age of 1 year old? And how much, like, how do you teach them to sleep? How are they hitting their developmental milestones? What kind of shoes are you putting on them? Like, literally, there is something for everything. Yeah. And it's so overwhelming. And, like, as a first-time mom, so I have learned something about myself. Like, something as serious as, like, feeding my son, in my head, what kind of shoes I'm putting on him also are like on the same playing field. They shouldn't be, right. But like for me, like that decision is like equal, but like that's silly.
Yeah.
And so I've had to like learn. I'm sorry, you guys. Our dog, she's like so needy right now, so you might have just heard her panting into the microphone. I have had to learn, one, who am I as a mom? And also I need to learn my son, because I can try to do all these different things that people are telling me to do on Instagram. But like at the end of the day, he's a person. Like he's not a robot, and he's not like some cookie cutter form of a child. Like he has his own interests. He has his own personality. He is not going to play with a sensory bin. That was a big thing for me for some reason. Like all these moms out there doing sensory bins, and I was like, oh my gosh, I don't do those with Miles. What's wrong? What am I doing wrong? Gave him a sensory bin. You know what he did? He ate the Cheerios and didn't scoop them up and play with them like all the other kids are doing in the videos. And which is no surprise, because
you're supposed to eat
food.
them.
Yeah, he loves food. But like that's what I was being shown.
Turns out he's way more advanced than all those other kids, because he's actually doing what you're supposed to do.
No, yeah. But anyway, like I have just had to learn. It is okay to stop following. I mean, actually, it's probably good. Stop following accounts that are not bringing value to me, aren't providing me with information that is helpful for my journey as a parent and for Miles. And I did. I unfollowed a lot. I've learned who he is, and he's healthy. He's safe. He's growing, developing normally, all of those things. And so I have learned this is what I'm going to focus on, and this is not what I'm going to focus on. Yeah. But like an example of this, so he didn't start walking like on his own until he was 15 months. And I mean, his doctor said like he's on the later end of like when that normally happens, but he's perfectly normal. Like there's nothing to be concerned about. Because if your child is having some sort of like delay where there could be a concern or anything, like obviously get the help that they need. And yeah, I'm not saying not to do that. Of course, do that. But I would like all day long be searching for why he wasn't walking, what I could do to make him walk. I actually remember there was a night where you had come home from work. All you probably wanted to do was play with your son. And I was like forcing him to walk back and forth to us. And you're like, just leave him alone. He just wants to play. And I'm like, he's not walking though. Like, because in my mind, instead of just being like, this is just him, this is normal, he's fine, he's healthy, I started saying you're a bad mom because you're not doing like X, Y, and Z to make sure he is like, you know, I don't know, going to be a triathlon runner or something. I don't even know if those two go together.
Well, I mean, that's
triathlon. Running is part of a triathlon. Yeah. You guys, I don't do sports. But like, I really start believing lies sometimes. And I think this is probably very common for a lot of new moms. That we just allow like the internet or society to tell us or allow us to believe certain lies about that. And you can go really quickly, or at least I can go really quickly from, oh, he's just not walking as fast as some other kids, to you're a terrible mom because you're like, why isn't your son doing that? And the reality is he's fine. Nothing was wrong with him. He started squatting and like picking toys up way before other kids were, because like, but like he still wasn't like walking on his own, and now he's like trying to run, and some kids aren't doing that. I don't know. Like
the point is it's different.
It's different for every child, and that's okay.
Yeah.
And kind of like maybe you had said this earlier, like things that seem like the biggest deals to us in those moments aren't, like in the grand scheme of things. The reality is, no matter what, Miles isn't going to be like 5 and not walking,
right?
Because he had nothing to indicate that was going to happen.
Right.
You know, like he didn't have a delay or something that was like, hey, we do need to work on this, or maybe he should go to a physical therapist or anything like that. It was just like, you know, your son really doesn't want to walk yet.
He likes crawling.
He likes crawling, and that's okay. But anyway. So yeah, I guess I do have a 4th one, and that's to have grace on yourself, on your child, on your spouse. Because,
amen to that.
Yeah, okay. I have a lot of grace for you, and you have a lot of grace for me.
I know.
Because it is so hard. Like, this is the biggest responsibility we probably have, like taking care of another human and loving him well. And obviously, we're not perfect. We're going to mess up. That's part of the process. I think that a lot of beauty can happen in that reconciliation when we mess up, but it's just hard. And, you know, you want to do the best you can do. You want to be the best you can be. But the reality is, like, we're humans. The only perfect Father is our Heavenly Father. So we have to have grace.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. He's got grace for us, and we got grace for each other.
And by grace we live.
And by grace we live.
Hallelujah. So yeah, those are my thoughts.
Yep.
I hope what I just said made sense, because part of me feels like I rambled a lot.
No, it made sense.
Okay, that's good. You'd tell me if it didn't.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, if you guys are enjoying listening to us chat every week,
why wouldn't you be?
I know. We would really love if you took just a couple minutes to either rate us or review us wherever you listen to your podcasts. We are actually on all platforms now.
Well, I mean, a lot
Most
of the common,
accessible, common platforms. So
yeah, and if
Apple,
we're not,
Google,
we can be there.
Spotify,
Stitcher, Amazon.
Yeah. Wow, I didn't know Amazon did podcasts.
Yeah.
Shows how much
Pretty
I
sure
know.
we talked about that the first episode, but it's all right.
Oh my gosh, we did. Okay. It's late. You guys, it is like, it's almost past my bedtime, so my brain is shutting down. But anyway, we would really appreciate it. Even if you wanted to share about our podcast on your own Instagram story. Yes, I feel very awkward asking you this because I don't like asking these kind of things, but truthfully, that is how the word gets out there. Every podcast I listen to is because someone told me about it. Point blank. So we would love it. We would be honored. We would really appreciate it. If you are listening, we're so thankful you're here. And that's all I have to say for now. Do you have any final thoughts?
I don't believe so.
Shocker. All right, well, I guess that's it then. We're looking forward to coming back next week, and we hope that you guys have a great week.
See you later.